5 tips to make you a better Magic the Gathering opponent. Guys, welcome to the video. My name is Jack Talks MTG and I make Commander content for noobs just like you. And today we're going in the more social route, okay? We're not actually talking about specific game mechanics. We're just talking about more game etiquette, shall we say. I just want to say this right now. All of these tips are just my opinion. Everything here is very subjective. So, you know, try not to get too triggered if you don't agree with things that I'm saying. We're all friends here. So yeah, just wanted to get that out the way. But yeah, the reason I wanted to make this video is because I think this sort of stuff is very important. I just think in general, if like people maybe follow some of these tips, then the whole experience of playing Magic the Gathering, especially with people you don't know, if you guys have watched some of my other videos, you know that, you know, I'm all about trying to make that experience a little bit better for everyone. So yeah, I wanted to talk about this today because I do think that this stuff is important, and I do believe that if people were to follow some of these tips, the overall experience playing with new people would be better and this game could grow as a result. So without further ado, let's get into these 5 tips. Tip number 1, nice and simple, shake your opponent's hand before playing, okay? So when you sit down at the commander table, or even if you're playing 1v1, you know, well, maybe especially 1v1, offer your opponent your hand, you know, like it's good sportsmanship. It shows, you know, you're friendly, you get a little bit of physical contact, you know, it's building up a little bit of rapport. You know, this is something that I always do without fail. As soon as I sit down, hi, my name is Jack, you know, give them your name, and then ask them yours, which, you know, that will be, we'll get into that on tip number 2. But yeah, offer them your name, ask their name, shake their hand, because what that's going to do is just already create a nice foundation for more continued positive social interaction. So yeah, I think that's a good little tip to start with. Tip number 2, use your opponent's name. Okay, so once you find out your name of your opponent or opponents, if you're playing Commander, do your very best to try to remember their name and use it. Now, I know this can be really hard if you're playing with 3 strangers. I've definitely really struggled to remember some people's names sometimes. And I always say, like, you know, if I forget, I might ask again. So, you know, just please be patient. I always just say I'm rubbish with names, even if maybe I'm not technically rubbish with names, but I just say it just to, you know, just be friendly and just so hope they don't take any offense if I forget their name. And I will always try and use it. So when would you use your opponent's name? Well, a big thing is, like, if you're targeting someone, try to get out of the habit, and it's a very easy one to get into. It's just saying, I'm going to attack you. You know, don't, I'm attacking you. Like, just, it's a perfect example to say, I am going to attack, say, Ben. I'm going to attack, you know, Bill, whatever it is, you know, just try to use that person's name. You know, I'm not going to get too much into the social sciences and stuff like that, but, you know, studies have been done on this kind of stuff. People like the sound of their own name. It's a fantastic way to build rapport. There's literally a whole chapter in it on the How to Win Friends and Influence People book. Very famous book. If you've not read it, I highly recommend it. So use your opponent's name. They're going to appreciate you for it. I know I always appreciate it when someone uses my name. And again, this is all just about building some decent rapport, and it's going to increase the chances that your opponent is going to want to play with you again. And that's really important when we're talking about a social game like Commander, because that's a whole different thing, right? When you're playing like a tournament competitive based formats, you're kind of being paired with opponents, so you don't even really, it takes that kind of pressure to be kind of more sociable, even though you still should be. Whereas Commander is a sociable game. We need people to play with. We completely are reliant on that. So, you know, we want people to want to play with us again after the game. So use that person's name. Okay, tip number 3. Compliment your opponent or your opponent's deck when they do something cool or their deck does something cool. Now, this is something that I absolutely love, something that I've noticed with a few people that I've met in the LGS I go to, and these are the sort of people that I always want to play with again. Don't overdo it. You know, that's when it gets just a little bit cringy and, you know, it's going to have the opposite effect. But, you know, if their deck does something cool, just like, yes, and the opposite, you know, don't be salty. Don't be like, oh my god, you know, like if they're doing some crazy stuff, you know, be like, man, blah blah blah's deck is popping off. The majority of people, I think, will like it if you know, compliment their gameplay or stuff like that. So if you see the opportunity to do it, then go ahead, do it. Again, you are going to increase the chances of that person probably wanting to play with you again. Tip number 4, clearly announce what you are doing in the game. Communicate, guys. This is one that's like such a little, I don't even know, what, like a pet peeve for me. Like something that I hate so much is when I'm playing games and, you know, this has happened in my own playgroup sometimes and I have to pull them up on it. You know who you are if you're watching. When someone like just plays a card and then just like doesn't say anything, like I'm just like, okay, what am I supposed to just know what that does? When I'm playing, I will say, okay, I will tap 2 mana, 1 red, 1 green, and I will cast this card. I will say the card's name. What this does is blah, 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 and I will clearly communicate what I'm doing. So no one on the board has to try and figure out what I'm doing. Don't try and like hide what you're doing either, you know, because that's just a bit sketchy, you know. Just don't do it, man. We're all playing a casual game here. I tried to do the opposite, you know, like I'll announce like I'm about to pop off. Just be outright and honest, like, yep, I'm about to pop off, and if you don't do something about this, then you are gonna die. Just clearly explain everything that you're doing. You know, tell your opponent if you think that they're not aware of something. Try to not get the old like aha moments where they didn't know that something was going to happen because Commander is a very hard game to keep track of, especially if you've got newer players, right? They're still learning their own deck. They can't process what your deck is doing as well. So do your bit. Remind them, hey, just so you know, if you do that, then I will be able to do this. Obviously, you don't tell them if you've got like instances and stuff in your hand. You don't need to tell them that. But just in general, if there's stuff on the board that you think they should know about but don't, maybe just, you know, be the decent person and just be like, hey, just so you know that this card is going to allow me to do that. I guess that one is maybe a little bit more subjective, more down to the person, the individual, but I like to do it and I really appreciate when my opponent does the same. Tip number 5. Do not bitch or cry when people target you, or just, you know, when their deck pops off or something and you just think what they're doing is a bit too crazy. It's the worst thing, guys. Nobody enjoys playing with that person at all, you know? Like you're not achieving anything from it, right? Especially like if someone's targeting you and you like cry about it. Obviously, if you do it in a jokey way, it's fine, right? But if you're generally getting like upset and annoyed, one, you're not gonna make me want to reconsider anything that's blabbering out your mouth, but I'm not listening, right? If anything, it just makes me want to do it more, okay? And maybe that's me being a dick or something, but it's true. I hate little just crybabies. I just hate it. It does my head in and it just makes me want to kill you even more. So just don't do it, guys, right? Like we've all been there, right? We've all been there where feel like we're getting bullied a little bit. We're getting maybe targeted and it's like you don't understand, like, why are you doing this? Why, right? We've all been there. But the difference is like, well, for me personally, I'll go quiet. I'll just, okay. And you just smile and you're like, all right, cool. You know, and in your head, I'm like, that's fine. I'm just going to get you back twice as bad, you know? And that's where the banter comes in. That's where, you know, Commander is not supposed to be a competitive game unless you're playing CEDH. And if you're not, then why are you crying about your opponent making a suboptimal decision? Nothing in Commander has to be optimal. We're just having fun. This is just like essentially like a board game, right? So if I want to do something that doesn't make sense just because it's funny and I want to piss you off, you know, do it. Like, don't get mad when someone else does it, you know? Just go, yeah, that's cool. I'm just gonna get you back later. This is just something that I see far too often, and I really wanted to highlight it, guys, because I think sometimes as well, people are just so unaware of like their own actions and how it's making other people feel at the table, and they're just kind of just getting caught up in their own emotions, and they're not thinking. But like, when you're sitting there and you're bitching and you're crying, your opponents are there just like, shut up, man. Just shut up. Just play the damn game, you know? And in their head, they're probably not going to want to play with you again, right? In my opinion, for Commander, social skills is so important because we need other people to want to play with us, to play this beautiful game. And if you are a fun opponent and people want to play with you, the games you're going to have are going to be better. People are going to be more comfortable with you. They're going to be able to, have a little bit more banter with you. Everything is better if everyone is enjoying playing with everyone. And I'm all about that. I'm all about enhancing the player experience, the gameplay experience. Guys, those were my 5 tips. Please share your tips in the comments below. Now, guys, if you like this kind of video, then I recommend checking out this video, the negative stereotype that is holding MTG back. It's along the same lines of this whole like social, discussion stuff, a little bit more spicy, a little bit more controversial. But, if you like that sort of stuff, then check it out. It's right here.